watch our second match of the day between Umart Storm and Theporopuff girls, two of the current top runners in the Australian League of Legends pro scene. I'm Noke, and joining me today is Adam.
Oh, hey Noke, great to be casting with you.
As always, the same with you, man. So we can see Janna and Ezreal bans, as well as a Draven ban already coming out. So far all three being focused at the bottom lane. What do you think? And a Thresh as well. What do you think this tells you?
Well, Draven, Nami, Thresh. It looks like they're trying, like, Draven and Nami combination is absolutely brutal early game at the moment. So it looks like they're probably trying to run some kind of late game AD carry, so that they can actually not get crushed.
Yeah, definitely. I think that they're banning out that Ezreal against Hamster, who played a blue Ezreal yesterday to great effect actually. It was actually against a full 5-team split composition, and they've also banned out the Gragas, who was played on Rusty, who actually went 17-0 in that game. Even though it was a very unconventional game where they were facing a team with 5 teleports, a Heimerdinger, a Victor, and a very, very strong single lane push composition, they still managed to crush them with those 2 picks, so you might have taken them out straight away.
Yes, also about the Ezreal ban, true. Ezreal is an AD carry that can escape very easily from pretty much anything. It looks like they're possibly attempting to also run some kind of jungler or top lane combination with hard CC so that they can lock out that AD carry.
Yeah, definitely. We actually see Lulu being first pick, which is gonna go down onto Dizzy, I believe. So they are obviously looking to pick some AD carry or character that will require that wild growth, but it's very open to whatever they want to pick at this moment. Lulu's a very versatile supporter and does a great job, as we actually see Jace and Sejuani being picked up, also Sejuani being hovered over but probably locked in by the Theporopuff girls.
Sejuani, very, very good for sieging under the towers. No, Nocturne. Not Sejuani now.
No, it's J4. I think they're just trolling us,
They
switching
are.
all the picks. Caster's curse, I swear. At least we don't have any players like Edward yet in the Australian League, although I may have just doomed us by saying that with one of these players stepping up, but yeah. Unfortunate, but they have actually locked in the Jarvan, so that'll be a Jarvan jungle and a Jace mid or top most likely from Theporopuff girls.
That Jace Jarvan combination, especially when ganking in lane, is absolutely brutal. When the Jarvan jumps in, the Jace can lay down his front load burst and most targets will just melt instantly.
Yeah, and I did actually curse myself. They're obviously watching the stream at this stage, and they've started changing characters between Heimerdinger, Fizz, all of the different heroes. So we have no idea what to talk about, but it does look they are hovering over Hecarim. No, they changed to Kennen.
At this rate, they'll just pick Karma and be done with it.
Well, we did see a Karma yesterday actually versing a Ahri mid, I believe. Didn't do too bad in her own right, but yeah, it looks like we do see the Ryze and Kennen being locked in, so that counter AoE after the Jarvan ultimate should be pretty strong. So this will most likely be a Kennen top lane, or it could be a Ryze top lane, but Jace does pretty solidly versus Ryze. I'd more expect it to be a Kennen top lane.
Yeah, it's really depending on which mid lane Theporopuff girls actually pick here.
Yeah, that's very true, and we're just waiting for them to pick the heroes at the moment, actually. So yeah, what are you expecting? Oh, we see a Sona actually being picked out, so Sona's also one of those supports that's very solid. She has the Crescendo, which is a solid ultimate that can layer on top of Jarvan's Cataclysm, or his Cataclysm more likely will be layering on top of her Initiate Crescendo, so that's a very solid pickup as well. And we see a Xerath being hovered over by Swiper. That is a very solid pick, although it has not seen much play in the Australian Pro League so far.
It will complement the Sona Jarvan combo very, very well, because once they lock someone down, in the small area between those ults, that Xerath burst will just absolutely decimate any squishies, or really even tanks if it hits them.
Yeah, definitely. Now we're probably gonna see the AD carry and jungle being picked up from Umart Storm at this stage. I think the reason that Xerath was picked up by Theporopuff Girls is because Xerath is such a strong lane against both Ryze and Kennen, so regardless of which lane they send them into, they're gonna do a good job. But it's gonna be interesting to see which one they do choose to place against Xerath, as both Ryze and Kennen can most likely shut down a Jace top lane depending on individual skill.
Very, very true. Whichever lane Ryze is actually in, J4 will probably be camping that lane or attempting to just shut down that Ryze late game. Especially Xerath and Jace complement those ganks exceptionally well.
Yeah, we do see Varus and Zac actually locked in for Umart Storm at this stage, so Zac obviously he will most likely be played in the jungle unless we're seeing a jungle Kennen or a jungle Ryze. But yeah, his elastic slingshot ganks are very strong early levels, especially if he manages to max it, which we have seen a lot of players maxing it first or second in other pro leagues such as LCS and OGN. He's a very popular pick in pretty much every situation. And then late on in the game, he has the percentage damage on all of his abilities and Let's Bounce to place more CC over all of the CC that Umart Storm currently have.
Very, very true. Zac also, while he is Let's Bouncing, gains CC only down to 50% now from the 75% when he first came out, and that will allow him to kind of go through any of the CC that Xerath and Sona attempt to lay down on him. So he can just jump on that backline, especially the Xerath who has to lock in place to get those long range skills off.
Yeah, so I think that you might have a pretty close range engage composition with the Kennen and the Ryze having short ranges on most of their abilities, and then Zac of course having to be in the middle with the wild growth on top of him. So they're going to be looking for very hard engages when they do engage, where on the contrary, Theporopuff Girls have picked up Caitlyn, Jace, and Xerath, who are all very long-range poke champions. So, but then they also have the Jarvan and Sona for counter-initiation or initiation. So if they get a lead, we should expect to see a lot of acceleration gate into initiation combos. But if they're behind, they can just siege the turrets with Xerath and Caitlyn and hold on until you might make one mistake where they can just use Jace's E, get into the fight, and shut them down.
Very, very true. The wave clear coming out of Theporopuff Girls here will allow them to just sit under a tower constantly and just hold out that push from Umart Storm. Yeah,
definitely. I think this is all going to be based upon how well JK Smithy can land his ultimates, because if he can manage to CC Xerath, Jace, or Caitlyn, or more preferably a couple of them, especially in those mid-game team fights, they will be able to sustain until the late game, where Ryze will hit his peak, and then they'll just be able to shred through the team of Theporopuff Girls.
Yes, an interesting note about Jace's E. The CC reduction on Zac doesn't actually have any effect on that E, so if Jace can get the knockback off when Zac leaps in and just attempts to use his Let's Bounce on them, that is a possible way that they could just get away from a lot of that CC and possibly come out ahead in these team fights.
Yeah, we could also see him using it to shove Kennen back as well. If he does not get stunned in time, he'd have to have remarkable reaction time, similar to what Chauster actually pulled off in the game against Velocity Esports in the NA/LCS a couple of days ago, where he monsooned the Kennen over the wall right as he got stunned. It's really hard to do so when there's a Kennen trying to stun you, but it is possible, and we'll have to see if Swiper can manage to pull that off.
Okay, looking at the specific lane combinations we can see here, we can see that Ryze hasn't actually taken teleport, and that's usually an indication that Ryze is actually going mid lane. So we'll probably see Ryze against that Xerath in the mid. And what are your thoughts on that matchup, Nokia?
Well, I think that if Xerath is good enough. He should be able to shut down Rise. The only way that Rise can really engage on a safe and reserve Xerath play is if he burns that flash, and burning that flash he'd have to be very confident to get the kill. So we're either going to see a lot of Zac ganks focused on mid lane to get Rise rolling, which I don't really think will happen. We'll probably see Zac focusing on bot and top lanes to get the other lanes rolling, and Rise is just going to farm the mid lane, farm the Wraiths, and farm the Wolves, and just wait till that late game state where he's completely unmatched in his power as an AP mid champion.
Yes, and also looking at the bot lane, Lulu has interestingly enough picked up that heal, which says that in lane they're a bit worried about the combined burst that Caitlyn Sona can pull out, especially at level 6 with that Sona roll, and they feel like they need that to stay in, as well as she doesn't think that she will get in range late game to be able to exhaust that AD carry, and feels that the heal will be better to attempt to siege turrets or just save any members who get caught in that Jarvan, Xerath, Sona stun lock and damage.
Yeah, definitely. As the game goes on, heal does scale remarkably well. So in those early late game team fights, it can be very, very strong and pay full dividends for Umart if they manage to play it at the right time. As we actually do see the loading screen now, we have in the skin battle another 4 skins from Theporopuff girls, with only 2 skins coming down for Umart. So maybe the superstition will pay true this game. I'm not sure. Both of these teams are undefeated so far.
Indeed, it should be an interesting game. However, Umart is a team that has been developed for quite a long time. They've been playing together. They have had some roster changes recently, with some of the Uber Giants not actually being on the team for this tournament. But Theporopuff Girls was recently formed after the breakup of Seraphic Nexus. As you can see, 2 of their members on the team currently, along with an old Invidious member, it seems.
Yeah, they are a solid team from what we've seen of them so far, but this will be their first quote-unquote conventional game, as we actually saw yesterday them being played against one of the very rare cheese strategies that League does have to offer. So it'll be interesting to see how they do, especially coming up against a team with the caliber of Umart Storm. Yeah, so we should be loading into the game any second now. All the summoners are at 100%.
Okay, looking to the level 1 fights, or the level 1 positioning, both teams are actually looking fairly mediocre for the early game.
Yeah, that's true.
Most players on Umart will probably be taking their cue with the Rise, Kennen, Lulu, and while that is a small amount of damage, they don't have that much hard CC where they can actually lock down a member and kill them out. Whereas looking across to Seraphic Nexus, Theporopuff Girls, they also don't actually have the combined burst that you would see out of a team like that for about level 2 or 3. They don't have that CC lock either, so I think both teams, as we can see here, are actually just going to play fairly passive, defend their own buffs, and it looks like Umart is actually looking for an invade here. Yeah.
Just clarifying, we do have Umart Storm on the blue side and Theporopuff Girls on the red side. For those of you that have just joined us, these are 2 of the top seeded teams in the Australian Professional League at the moment, so you've come at a good time, and this game should be very interesting and enjoyable to watch, as we do see the entirety of Umart Storm heading through that top tri-brush, trying to catch someone at red, as they're going to find Jarvan, who just strolls away from his very own red.
Yes, both teams having warded the other side of the jungle and are massing in this jungle in an attempt to protect both their buffs. But it looks like Theporopuff Girls are setting up here to catch out Umart if they do decide to take their buff.
Yeah, it looks like they're all coming in as a 5 unit as well, but Cannon's actually backing at the moment, so This may be very strange. It looks like Cannon's actually being sent towards the bottom lane to 1v2, which is something that we haven't seen so far, as an engage does go down. Jace getting caught, Jarvan getting caught and forced to burn the flash, as quite a bit of damage does go down from Umart Storm. So overall well played by Umart there, forcing the flash out of the jungler.
Yes, Umart Storm seems to be sending their bot lane top in an attempt to 2v1. Oh, no, both teams are now sending their bot lane top. Just, Umart was attempting to shut down the 2v1 Jace Kennen lane that they felt that Kennen wouldn't win, but given that invade, Theporopuff girls noticed and have sent theirs top to counter it.
Yeah, Cannon will have a slight experience lead though, as he was down there quite a bit earlier. Although this is one thing that I heard some riders talking about on another stream during the week. With the removal of the 140 spawn times, it actually frees up a lot of lane variation. So now, especially the bot lane, has no obligation to stay in that bot lane. Of course, in things like solo queue, we should still see that stay the same, as we actually see Jarvan coming in on the mid lane, both Xerath landing a stun, and Jarvan managing to, but Ryze, knowing he's going down, places the Rune Prism onto Jarvan under the turret, making the best of the situation at hand and picking up a counter kill for the first blood that went down for Xerath. So well played by both parties.
Indeed, and we can see Zac coming into the mid lane here, just taking the farm that Ryze would have missed and leaving them with no net loss except for the 100 gold coming out of First Blood.
Yeah, we can see top lane actually shoving, which is something that I would not have suspected coming against a Caitlyn lane. Usually Caitlyn is the champion to be pushing other lanes, but Theporopuff girls are obviously just looking to have a nice farming laning stage, because farming at turret is relatively easy when compared to farming whilst shoving.
Yes, with the lifesteal runes, though, most AD carries will have some difficulty actually getting the last hits on the caster minions under the tower. So being pushed to the enemy tower, while slightly risky for being ganked by the jungler, it is actually usually gives you a CS advantage. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think that's back when Wild Turtle first brought out his Draven in the LCS. He started that, as we actually see Zac elastic slingshotting onto the Jarvan, who he thought was alone, but he's not going to. He is going to pick up the red buff, however, his own red buff, which Jarvan was attempting to invade, but his plights do not pay dividends, and he just has to walk back to his own jungle and try and get some farm from now.
Yes, we can actually see that the red buff on Jarvan has run out here, so his ganks won't be as potent, he won't have that extra slow. He lost the red buff in the initial gank against Ryze when he died to that tower.
Yeah, definitely. We can actually see Zac taking down the golems at the moment. I would suspect that he'd possibly gank the bottom lane, which is actually quote-unquote the top lane in this game. It's just there's been a rotation. We see actually Ryze being focused again by the Jarvan ganks, a stun coming down from SNX Rusty, and the EQ combo from Jarvan following through to pick up the kill. Very beautifully played by Theporopuff girls.
Yes, as I predicted at the start, Theporopuff girls are working to shut down that Ryze late game. He doesn't have any natural form of escape except for Flash, so it is very, very easy for the Jarvan Xerath combination to just shut him down and kill him in lane while that is down.
Yeah, that's very true. We can actually see in the bot lane, both of the top laners are sitting on around about 1,200 gold currently, so they should seek to back off soon, as Jace has actually bought off and buy some nice items. So he's picked up the Tear of the Goddess for that mana, which will later build into the Muramana, which is so strong on Jace because of his W. And Cannon will probably back after shoving this wave to pick up some nice items for himself. Whether he chooses to rush for that Seeker's Arm Guard or pick up a couple of Dorans to give him lane dominance, we will have to see.
Yes, he actually has 1350 gold, enough gold for probably 2 Dorans and an armor. No, he does rush straight for the Seeker's Arm Guard, ignoring the usual Doran's sustained start.
Yeah, so it's an interesting choice, but it obviously suggests that Umart are going to be looking to have those early mid-game fights probably centered around Dragon, and so they want to get Kennen having his Algos as fast as possible, and they're going to sacrifice lane pressure for that.
Very true, and that also lines up with the fact that their bot lane was attempting to push down the tower earlier on. They're trying to get that bot lane out of, or get that control in the top lane, get that tower down, so that their top lane can roam down.
Yeah, very true. Actually, you see Uber Giants, bro, and Dizzy just stepping on all those traps. We see Zac posturing for a gank in the bottom lane. It's going to be a 4v4 with the counting gank. A beautiful slicing Maelstrom, knocking up both members, but they seem to have a miscommunication. Kennen focused on taking down the Jace, while Zac went for Jarvan, and there's going to be no blood dealt. But on the top lane, we actually see a fight going out as Jace decides to go back in onto Kennen. He is going to not be able to pick up the kill, but in comes Xerath with a flash is in the top lane. There is more fighting going on. Zac is knocked into his globlets and is going to be taken down by Xerath's ultimate. Although Ryze actually comes in managing to land his Rune Prism onto Jace, forcing the flash. A very, very, very confusing set of events with fights going off all around the map, but only one kill falling, that being BMA on Zac, with Xerath picking up the kill on that.
Very, very good job by Theporopuff girls there to actually pick up the kill. In that fight, Zac was actually 2 levels above Jarvan, so Jarvan did not have his ultimate, while Zac still had that Let's Bounce. A little bit of miscommunication there on Umart Storm's part actually allowed Theporopuff girls with that Jace to turn that fight around.
Yeah, all they had to do was for JK Smithy to actually focus. Oh, we do seeing Engage going in on top. A lot of damage on the Caitlyn, forcing the barrier as Sona actually exhausts Varus. So, very well played as Lulu ulties herself, trying to shove the mid wave out. As Jarvan comes in, he's going to seek to EQ combo onto this Lulu and probably pick up the kill. He managed to get the knock up, but she uses her heal and she is going to escape with only one summoner burnt.
Very effective use of that summoner heal, the unconventional choice we saw Lulu take at the start of the game to survive that gank.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as we were saying before, in that skirmish in the bottom lane, we saw Zac actually focus onto the Jarvan, whilst JK Smithy on that Kennen went to try and get the kill on his lane opponent Jace. All he had to do was land that Shuriken and W onto Jarvan, and it would have picked up the kill, and they would have escaped with no further casualties. But unfortunately, there was that slight miscommunication, and they went for opposite targets and were not able to pick up anything.
Very true. The double stun didn't go out on that Jarvan, and as such, he escaped to live another day. As we can see, Jarvan and Xerath going over to take their own blue buff before Zac can steal it. And that will benefit Xerath greatly in lane. He will be able to just constantly spam those arcane barrages in an attempt to just constantly keep that lane pushed and force Ryze to farm under his tower.
Yeah, that's very true. We can see a substantial gold lead in the mid lane, around about 1,100 gold at nearly 11 minutes. So we can definitely Ryze is losing out this lane. As Xerath does burn his ultimate as we head to top lane to see an engage up there. Varus managing to land the ultimate onto Caitlyn, but a beautiful crescendo locks up both members. As in the mid lane, Zac has came for a gank, but a beautiful turnaround from SNX Rusty, managing to pick up the kill onto Ryze. Zac does not have the ability to go in as Jarvan cycles in, using the Cataclysm to secure that kill before he could Elastic Slingshot away. That was very well played yet again by Theporopuff girls, and Umart are really looking shaky this game.
Very good job there by Rusty to actually bait them into coming further up the lane. He waited until the Ryze got in range and ran up the lane and then just turned on that Ryze. And then kept running and baited the Zac under the tower in time for the Jarvan to come to the mid lane and actually picked himself up another kill without dying.
Yeah, that was very impressive play. It seems that his Gragas play from yesterday actually has carried over to this game, and now he has a 1,500 gold lead over Rice Diggity, the mid laner for Umart Storm, which is very, very, very far ahead. He's just actually headed back and picked up a Morello Nomicon, which will give him a lot more damage in lane.
Yes, he has that 34 farm advantage currently, as well as the fact that Rise has only stacked about 200 stacks on his tier currently, which means that Rise, he scales very, very well off mana, and he won't be able to do the damage that he needs to when it comes to the mid-game teamfights.
Yeah, that's very true, and we can see Theporopuff girls know that they have an advantage. They know that they're winning out in a lot of their lanes, and so they've gone down with two of their members, Xerath, coming into support and taken the dragon, which seeks to only extend their gold lead to now around about nearly a 3k gold lead over Umart Storm at 13 minutes. Very well played.
Indeed, and just looking down to the CS gaps that we currently have, Theporopuff girls are actually winning in every lane except for the top lane. That pushing to the tower actually coming in handy for the top lane, despite the fact that there has been no kills, and Varus has pulled himself a nearly 10 CS advantage.
Yeah, we can also see Caitlyn picking up the Vampiric Scepter and BF sword, so that would normally suggest that she's going for a BT, which would be surprising. What are your thoughts on this?
BT, an early BT is very, very good for pushing towers. It actually gives that extra attack damage, as well as the fact that it costs 600 gold less. So that is a sign that they're looking to just siege towers, end this game out early.
Yeah, we can actually see Jace going strong onto J.K. Smithy. He does land the Slicing Maelstrom, hitting the stun, but is Jace going to land this snipe? Yes, he does! J.K. Smithy actually walking in. Jarvan was behind him, however, so he would not, most likely not have escaped from that secondary attack, as Jarvan is now cycling over to mid lane with Zac hot on his tail.
Oh, we can
see a fight going down in the bottom lane, actually, whilst Xerath and Jarvan do choose to gank. We see Caitlyn falling to Varus, and back in the middle lane, Xerath not dying, using that flash to escape Zac, while Jarvan just stands there tanking down the tower. So, all across the boards, numerous kills. Overall, the gold lead is still the same, as Varus did manage to pick up a kill on Caitlyn, and now force the flash onto Sona, and it looks like they're going to pressure this tier 2 tower. Sona will not be able to hold that by herself.
Yeah, we can also see Umart picking up that bot tower and the kill in reply to mid lane. So overall, across the map, that was actually an even trade coming out. Despite the fact that a mid lane tower usually does give a greater positional advantage, the gold is still the same.
Yeah, very true. We can actually see Jace stay around in this top rush. He does have a significant amount of gold. He's sitting on 1,000 gold at the moment that he can go and spend when he backs off, but he is choosing not to at the moment. He is another one of those heroes that is actually substantially winning his lane, nearly 1,000 gold. Oh, he's about 800 gold ahead of Kennen at the moment, which for a lane against a player with the caliber of J.K. Smithy is a very impressive feat.
We can also see that on Kennen, the Zhonya's has been picked up, which means he is now ready to jump into those team fights, and we should look to see Umart Storm grouping up soon. As soon, I think, probably when the next dragon comes up, we will see a team fight breakout.
Yeah, very true. We can actually see Sona placing down that pink ward to clear out vision. Obviously, they are setting up for that major objective that is coming up soon. And there are pings going out from Umart in their own jungle, as they do not have a single ward on the map at the moment. They're completely in the dark and have no idea what is happening on the side of Theporopuff girls.
Yes, the dragon won't be up for about 2 minutes yet. So we will have to see what Umart Storm decides to respond with. As we can see Lulu just clearing out the wards near there, taking the red buff, and just trying to keep all lanes pushed up at the moment.
Yeah, that's very true. We can see Jace placing more pressure onto Cannon in that top lane. Jarvan is actually coming around through the lane for this gank, it seems. Oh no, he's just going to go farm those golems. They have no idea if there is vision on the top lane, but when Cannon backed after that, I think they took it as a sign that he did see Jarvan and did have vision on it. But there was nothing that they could really do about it, as we do see Theporopuff girls posturing to take this dragon down.
We can also see Jace, his constant pressure on the top tower actually paying off.
We can actually see Theporopuff goes baiting the bot lane in with Xerath sitting in the dragon pit, which had recently been cleared out by the pink ward of Theporopuff girls, and they managed to pick up the kill onto Dizzy. Very well played by Theporopuff girls baiting in that engage.
As we can see Jarvan and Jace looking to jump on this cannon in the top lane.
Yeah, he just missed the EQ combo there, so unable to get the knock up and follow through with Cataclysm. Very well played by JK Smith, and used Lightning Rush at the perfect time to escape that.
They do look like they're going to get quite a lot of damage up on this tower, as we see Xerath moving up with them, possibly looking to take the blue buff, which may be spawning soon, but no, they're just moving up into this top lane.
Yeah, we can actually see Hamster and Ted Jono shoving this bottom lane, trying to take another tower for their cause, giving their team some extra global gold.
Zarabaris just coming down to defend this, while he sees the three members top, just attempting to stop any more towers going down, as we see the flash.
Yeah, we actually see the ultimate chains of corruption coming out of Varus, but we do see the exhaust coming down from Sona onto him. He uses the barrier to stop the final tick of damage from Caitlyn, but she flashes, misses the auto attack, actually hitting a creep, and Varus is going to turn back in and fight this with the Lulu shield, but she uses her barrier. Very well played, as we can actually see a little bit further up in the lane, Jarvan getting caught by Ryze and Zac, and is forced to get out of there as Xerath and Jace now cycle down to join the fight. This is a 3v4, but two of the members are very low from Theporopuff girls, but they're still going to go in and pick up the kill on Lulu and seek to get onto this Ryze and Zac. But it looks like they've reached the safety of their tower, so they're just going to back off.
A very well-timed fight by Theporopuff girls. We can see the dragon actually spawning up here as the top lane turret goes down.
Yes, and so they're going to take this at another 1,000 gold to their already 4,000 gold lead. So now they're sitting at around about a 5,000 gold lead, which is very significant at this 19-minute mark in the game so far, especially considering a lot of the gold is going onto the people that matters, with a 3-0 Xerath at the moment, and then 6,500-ish gold on both Jace and Caitlyn.
Yes, we can actually see 7,500 gold coming on that Xerath. A very, very large advantage over the 1-4 Ryze, who only has 5,500 at the moment. We'll probably be looking to see that Xerath making the plays in these team fights.
Yeah, and even though Xerath actually has a 10 CS advantage and the same kills as Caitlyn, as they did technically barely win out that lane, he still is behind 500 gold behind Caitlyn, purely from those dragons and extra towers that Theporopuff girls have managed to pick up.
Indeed, 2 dragons coming out of Theporopuff girls so far, while the towers are currently even. Very, very good job by Umart to actually keep those towers even, and pushing that top lane with Cannon there while the dragon was going down, actually coming out of that play not too far behind.
Yeah, it seems that Theporopuff girls are playing the objective game and managing to pick up quite a large amount of kills in the process. The score currently is 3-10 in favor of Theporopuff girls. For those of you guys that have just joined us, this is the ACL Pro League online tournament. The online rounds, actually, and this is 2 of the top-seeded teams in Australia, Umart Storm versus Theporopuff girls.
Indeed, as we see the Zac backing in the bot lane, and blue team actually looking to defend their mid tower as Theporopuff girls move into siege. Their team is very, very suited to this siege and can hold it for a very long time, especially with the Sona sustain. As Zac moves over to the side to land his sniping.
So he actually takes down the Banshee's Veil of Ryze, but he manages to land a beautiful Rune Prism onto Caitlyn. However, the crescendo comes across 3 members of Umart as Zach jumps in, landing a Let's Bounce onto 3 of the members. Everyone is so low. Cannon's ultimate did not do a whole lot as Jace managed to push him out of that fight, and everyone is going to get away on Theporopuff girls, all blinking red. That is the signal of a good team fight for a team, is when everyone escapes on low health.
The remaining members of Theporopuff girls looking to siege this turret, but the wave clear coming out of Umart Storm as Caitlyn attempts to get a few hits on that tower without dying.
Playing it very risky there, if I don't say so myself, but she does know that none of the members of Umart Storm actually have anything like a shockwave to pick her off, as they've all just used most of their close range ultimates, so they're not able to pick her up, so she can just tank those tower hits before backing off to pick up some nice items with her 1,000 gold that she has stored up.
Yes, we saw a very nice positioning by Xerath as they were taking that tower, actually sitting over the wall and poking down Umart Storm so much before that team fight actually started. Eden and Lulu were on about half health by the time they engaged.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that Xerath actually did that fight was using his, sorry, I've forgotten the name for it, his W to actually take away the Banshee's Veil on Rise, and that allowed Sona's Crescendo to actually lock Rise up before he could lay his entire combo onto Caitlyn, who he did manage to surprisingly get a prismatic bind onto Caitlyn with.
Very true, as we see both teams actually just moving back into their respective lanes, trying to get up a bit more farm, while Theporopuff girls actually do look like they're sending 3 members mid in an attempt to finalize the turret kill in mid lane, which is on about 20% health now.
Yes, we see all 5 members except Caitlyn cycling there. Caitlyn is looking to pick up this other tower. So this suggests the Theporopuff girls are actually not going to siege this as of yet, as Caitlyn is not with them. She actually chooses to back off as she thinks that the minions may be able to kill the tower, or they just do not choose to pick it up at this stage. And she is looking to cycle mid to rejoin with her team and take down this mid turret.
Yes, while the rest of her team can siege fairly well.
We see a flash prismatic bind onto Xerath actually, but the Cataclysm and Slicing Maelstrom follow down from Jarvan and Cannon. Xerath is just sitting at the back, dealing tons of damage with all of his abilities onto those heroes, and a double kill is picked up for Jace as Jarvan actually follows through with the EQ combo, but is not able to knock anyone up. This is really close, however, as Caitlyn flashes in to pick up the kill onto Uber Giant's Bros Varus, as Zac is knocked into his globlets, and the whole team just follows through to pick up the kill. Xerath actually taking down the last hit on that one, and this should be an inhibitor and potentially the game for Theporopuff girls, but I don't think they'll be able to push it.
No, the death timers are still very, very short at this point in the game. Rise actually already back, dying at the start of that team fight, as they back off and decide not to push their luck, and going to set up objectives in the other lanes. However, Caitlyn does go bot lane and looks to just be landing the few final hits on this tower.
Yeah, so now I think all you might need to do is just try and siege, which is very hard with their heavy CC run-in engage composition, but it's what they have to do. They have to stall this game to late game, where Ryze and Varus will reach their 5-6 item builds and start dealing the damage their champions are renowned for.
Yes, the only problem with that strategy being that Theporopuff girls, that is exactly what they want Umart Storm to be doing here. It's what Umart Storm has to do, but it's also what Theporopuff girls, they built their team comp around doing.
Yeah, very true. Actually, see Umart trying to shove down this mid turret, but all of the members of Theporopuff girls are coming back, and 3 of them were already there when they arrived, as they look to be posturing over to take this dragon.
Yes, with their current gold and strength advantage, red team just going to take any advantage they can and just kind of put a stranglehold on this game, as all lanes will naturally push.
Yeah, that's very true, as we do see the dragon actually falling. There was vision on that for Umart. So they've seen the dragons pushing it, they've tried to cycle mid, but they're pushing against super minions at this stage, so won't be able to do a whole lot as Zac tries to engage onto this Jarvan. Sona looks to come in onto Zac, actually. He's already taken a ridiculous amount of damage, going in with the EQ combo, the crescendo landing over 4 members, and the Cataclysm following after. it has been this will be a 5-0 exchange, and most probably the game. A surrender is called by Umart, and Theporopuff girls will take this game against one of the top-seeded teams in Southeast Asia, being Umart Storm.
That was a very, very impressive showing from Theporopuff girls there. Umart Storm, very high-seeded team, and in that last team fight, that was excellently played. We saw Kennen not even be able to get off his ultimate. Well, he got it off for about half a second before he died. No one even stunned. Very good teamwork there from Theporopuff girls.
Yeah, I'd have to give the MVP, even though Jace had the most kills, I'd still give the MVP to SNX Rusty, as he pretty much landed 90% of his stuns and made some big plays in mid and early game, as well as just using his late game artillery to shred through the ranks of Umart Storm. But yeah, guys, we'll be back soon with another game. At the moment, we're just gonna go and find one to get up for you guys, but you should all go down and click the follow button on the ACL Twitch page, give us the support, and then you can watch all the games in the future that'll come up on this stream. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll be back shortly.